Welcome back, everybody. That was Kelly Vaughn 1,000 times before, and he might look a little bit different now, but this is Kelly Vaughn. Hey, Kelly, how you doing, man?
Hola, hola. How is everybody out there?
We're all good. I'm going to sit here and track everybody in the room. We've got a lot of people watching. Creed, Diane, Smokey, Harry, Chad, Debbie, Beth, Jarrett, lots of people in the house right now, guys. Thank you so much for joining. So, Kelly, been playing with the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band now a couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
It's going by fast, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to this next one.
Heck yeah, dude. Next Drumathon, hopefully we're going to have that in person. We've been missing out on those. But just to give everybody a little bit of background, I've known Kelly since high school. I remember you probably junior high school, when I was a junior high school at Plano East Senior High. And we graduated the same year. I keep wanting to say that you went to UNT, but you really didn't. And for like,
I've been there.
I know you've been there a lot, and I kept like, I would say, well, remember when you were in UNT and blah blah. He's like, no, I didn't, and I did it forever, and I finally got it through my head that you actually didn't go to school there. But we knew a lot of people that were going to school there, and so you were up that way quite a lot. And then in the late '80s, early '90s, we were both playing the same club circuit in our original bands, original rock bands. And you were in a band called Dirt Cheap, and you guys were way cooler than me. So we always opened for your band. And you guys always played on the weekends, had the great slots and everything like that. But what I want to know is like, what was Kelly before? Like, how did all this come to be? Because we all know you as a musician. You play around the Dallas-Fort Worth area a lot, so a lot of people have seen you play, but we don't know your whole story. What first drew you to music as a child?
Well, there was like two events that kind of led me to the music thing, and it was one. There was a lady at my church that played guitar. She had a really cool Ovation acoustic guitar, and she just would play, camp songs. And I just thought that was cool. And I just thought, and it just kind of stuck with me. I really wasn't planning to do it. I wasn't planning to play or anything. But then later on, when I kind of got the bug, I probably was about 14. I was reading like Circus magazine, and I was looking at all the pictures of the bands, and I was kind of getting into it. And I finally started getting some cassettes. I remember that's what I wanted. I had albums, but I wanted cassettes for some reason. And I got my first few cassettes, and I was kind of getting into music, and I was looking at those magazines, and I was thinking, maybe I want to get into music. And there was a kid next door to me that had an old beat up, cobbled together drum set with like all different pieces, and it was just a junkie, but I just thought it was cool, and I wanted to try to get it from him. And I traded him my members only jacket and a little like Walkman, and he gave me the drum set, right?
Those are like two prime pieces of 1980s paraphernalia, a members only jacket and a Walkman. I mean, you were pretty serious about the drum set.
I wanted that drum set. Right. I got the drum set. I put it in my garage. I've never played music. I was never in band. I had no clue what I was doing. All I knew is that I could do this one little thing that sounded like the start of a ZZ Top song. And I thought that was cool, but I was getting nowhere with it, and I was getting frustrated. And so I sold it, the whole kit, to another kid down the street. And I took the money and I bought my first acoustic guitar, and that's how it kind of started. And at that time, so right around that time, I guess I was like 15, and I mean, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was at school, I was at my locker, and I was getting my books in and out of the locker or whatever, and my fingers were all peely. When you first start, your fingers get all kind of scaled up,
Like you have those calluses starting to build up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the girl at the locker next to me goes, "Ooh, what happened to your hand?" And I said, "Oh, that's from playing guitar." And she says, "Oh, you play guitar?" And the way she said it, I was like, yeah, I do.
It was all over. It's like chicks.
And it was
did
like,
this.
so yeah. So that was like a motivator in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. It was a motivator, you know. And I was, you know, I like I said, I'd never been in band. I didn't really, I just was learning songs and just kind of picking up what I could here and there. And I mean, there was plenty of guys that we went to school with that were already playing for years and were way better than me, you know, already. And I was just kind of getting going, and I was picking it up pretty fast, I guess. And I, you know, on the weekends I'd go to these parties, and I was starting to grow out the hair, and it never failed. Someone always had a guitar at their house, and somebody would always say, "Oh, he plays good. Get it out," you know, and they would go and get it and bring it to me, and I would play a couple songs, and everyone would just think it was the greatest thing in the world. And it was pretty cool. I mean, the attention was great and it was fun. But whenever I played a little riff or a little song that I wrote, that seemed to get a different reaction that I really liked. That was like, hey, this isn't just something I'm just copying, you know, I'm actually like doing something here. I'm creating something.
And like getting a reaction from somebody when you write something on your own and they like it, that's totally different. What was the first thing? Do you remember the first song you ever wrote, or how old you were?
I do. I remember it. I was at some kind of event at TCU, the college, for the weekend, and there was some kind of big dance, and I kept going up to the DJ trying to get him to play some heavy metal song, you know, and it didn't fit, you know, because they were trying to play dance music. And so the DJ was kind of a jerk. And, you know, now looking back, I totally understand that would have probably killed the vibe. But I went back to my dorm room that I was staying in for the weekend, and I just cranked out my first little song, and it was just this terrible, I mean, it was something like, I can remember it, but it was really bad. It was like, some stupid, I don't even know. That's how it started off. Anyway.
Yeah, that's excellent.
But my friend thought it was awesome. And it just kind of hooked me. Like, I love to write songs. Playing the guitar was cool, and all the attention and stuff was great. But then the musician part kind of started creeping in, and I started kind of getting more interested in it in a more real way. And it was, you know, everybody kind of looked at me and talked to me like I was a rock star. And I kind of started feeling the pressure, and I better really like learn how to do this, you know? And so that's when I think I took this music theory class my senior year of high school. And that's where I understood it. And then from there, it just kind of took off, and I got a lot better real fast.
Was that actually a class in high school, music theory?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. It was music theory 1, and there was also music theory 2, but it was my senior year, so I already missed the boat on that.
Gotcha.
But it was that last little class in high school that was kind of a fun one that I got to pick on my own, that ended up being the thing that kind of like helped me the most in life, which I just think is, you know, it's ironic. And I'm real happy about it, because it's led me to kind of everything I've done after that kind of happened because of that.
Well, yeah, and all the steps that got you there just kind of led you to this passion of music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally cool.
And then I just, you know, after high school, it just deepened, but I was pretty young. I think I was like 17 when I graduated high school, and I still had only been playing for a couple years. So I had this great master plan that I was going to go live on a ranch somewhere away from everywhere and just practice, and then come back and be real good. And I told a few people the idea, and they laughed, you know, but we actually found someone that had a ranch that needed someone. And I moved out on this horse ranch, and I you know, I really should have been up all day messing with horses and stuff, but I really was like sleeping till just until the people were going to come home and they were going to see what I was doing, and I'd get up and work all day. But then I'd stay up all night playing guitar. And it really started to soak in, and I started to get a lot better. And when I was done with that job and I ended up, moving back home, there was a day, and I just said, I'm going to get in a band today. And I went to the guitar show, which is this event we have here twice a year, but the one in Dallas. And I went there. I was going to get in a band. I just started walking around talking to everybody there. I found some guys. We set it up. 2 weeks later, we were playing our first show.
And what band was that?
That was my band with Jason Michaels that you know.
Gotcha, cool.
And that was a band called Serenade.
Jason Michaels was in Serenade before he was in a band with me, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the very first rehearsal, they had said, learn all these songs and I did, and we came in and we played them. And then after that, we were all just kind of looking around, and I said, well, I wrote this riff the other day. Let's jam on it. I started playing it. Bam, we had our first song. It was cool. It was good. And that was it. I was never going to shake that. And I never have, and I still haven't. That creative thing, and you just get excited about an idea, and it just starts as just a riff or some lyrics or whatnot, and then the next thing you know, you've created a song, and it's just great. I love it.
Man,
can't stop.
Yeah,
Not gonna.
And that, creating music and then getting an opportunity to record it is even more exciting. Being able to lay that down and have that, and it's just like this piece of your history that you can have forever. So with that band, did you guys go in the studio and record?
That band, we did like one recording, and I think we did like 2 or 3 songs, and they were all originals. And I was a couple years older than those guys, and so then I got an opportunity to play with some other guys that were a little bit older, and they were kind of doing the club scene already. And so I thought that had kind of run its course for me, and I moved on to that. And I did that band for a while. That band was called Casanova. We played a lot at North Texas at UNT around there.
Yeah, a couple of good friends of mine actually sang backup with you guys a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
I think at the Char Hut in Denton. So
I wasn't in the band when they played at the Char Hut, but I was there, and that's when I was saying, I want to be in this band. And so when there was an opening, that's how I got in there.
Funny.
And then that lasted for a little while, and then I got in the band that you mentioned, Dirt Cheap, and that was the one where all the real stuff started happening. And, we were recording, and we were on the radio, and we had an agent, and we were playing really good gigs, and everything was going great. But then, what happened in 1991, which is the great fall, I refer to it as, when grunge came out and pretty much chopped the head off of everything.
And it was massive too. A lot of people, watching right now might be younger, they might be older and not be familiar with it. But, if you were playing the music scene in the late 80s, early 90s, and grunge came out, literally every bar that was like the best place to go on the planet closed by 1995. They were all gone. Everything was gone. Or worse, they changed format and renamed, and then it was just like, just awful. Yeah, it was a total death.
So
of rock and roll.
when that happened, that was the first time I really realized how vulnerable you are when you're a musician and you're in a band, and tastes change, styles change, whatnot. But more than that, the people. Because shortly after that, one of the guys came in and he just said, I'm quitting. I'm going to go do this other thing. And the rug kind of got pulled out from under. And I realized, you're putting all your faith in these other guys, and the whole thing can come falling apart, in one day. And then you're scrambling around trying to figure out what you're going to do. And I really didn't like that feeling, knowing that, my whole world come crashing down just because one guy decides, I don't want to do this anymore, whatever. So I decided to cut my hair, go to college. I was going to give up music. It sounded good. And I was serious about it at the time for, however long this lasted. But I sold all my equipment except for one guitar, one amp. And I went off to college. I went to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is about 3 hours east of Dallas. The very first weekend I was there, I went to this little bar called Crossroads, this famous bar that Stevie Ray Vaughan had played at. And there was a cover band there, and they were getting just the most crazy attention and reaction. And I thought they pretty much sucked. And I couldn't believe that level of talent or whatever was getting this kind of a reaction. And I was immediately like, I have to put a band together here. And I mean, within 2 weeks, I had a band going there. And so all that stuff I said about concentrating on school and stuff, it was still there, but now I was also doing this. And it was really just more like a continuation of what I've been doing.
Yeah, totally. And were the people that you were playing with, were they going to school out there as well, or were they just in the area?
Yeah, they were all musicians, but they were all going to school. And so it was pretty much the whole time I was in college, I was, each semester it changed a little bit, but I had a pretty core group of guys, and they were pretty serious, and they were really good. And it was like a perfect combination of like Hootie and the Blowfish and Stone Temple Pilots, which were like the two kind of things that were kind of happening at that time. And it was great. And, we made some recordings, and I think, and then later we made our first actual CD, and everything was cool. But, by the time I graduated, I could see that these guys were going to drift apart somewhat, and everyone had their own agenda, and I didn't see a future there. And so that's when I came back to Dallas and I actually put my new band together before I even moved back. That was my thing, is I didn't want to be here, not be in the scene, so I put my new band together while I was still down there. And when I came up here back to Dallas, I had my new band, and I was just continuing on. And then I was doing the whole late 90s, what is that, alternative music scene. But I really was still kind of playing. But at this point, I really decided that I wasn't going to follow these trends anymore, because I saw what that got me. That kept getting me, It was, you play a certain style and look a certain way, but then when that's over, it's your old news, right? And you got to rebrand yourself. And so at that point, I just started doing something that I just thought was more me. And, if it fits here, fine, I'll play there. If it doesn't, I won't. And I was doing that for, I don't even know how long, years and years and years. And that band was called Kickstand.
Yep, I remember that band too.
Yeah.
Totally do.
Yeah, and we played with you a couple times.
Yep, with Frognot.
One funny thing that I always tell people, if I've played there and they have stopped having me play there, the place is either out of business or it's burned down. And I mean, it's pretty much true. Like, once you tell me, once I'm not playing there anymore, you can kiss it goodbye, because it's over.
Right.
And I remember one of those places that I played at with you, like that. Like, we played, I think was it called the Mucky Duck?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was the Mucky Duck at Prestonwood Mall.
Yeah, and it was like we played there once or twice, and then I don't know, it closed down.
It did close down. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I just, and so since then I've just been constantly just still writing and keeping a band together and playing as much as I can. And the funny thing is I thought as I got older, the opportunities would get less and less. But that didn't happen. It kind of happened the opposite. And I started getting more opportunities, and I started branching out and doing, like, I would do a solo gig. I would do my regular band gigs. I would play in other people's bands. filling in or just different things. And I just started getting even more busy, and almost to the point where I could probably be playing every night if I really wanted to. And but the opportunities just are still there, and they still keep coming, and I do the same thing. I write a new batch of songs, and every couple of years I make another album and put it out, and I keep playing, and that's how I've ended up where I am right now today. I don't know if I skipped over some stuff probably, but
it's all good.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. That's really cool. So how many albums do you think of original music have you put out at this point? Like, I have a friend who does much the same thing, where he just writes, and the guy puts out a new album every year, and it's not like, 5 songs. It's like a full-length album, and he's just constantly writing.
Yeah. I would say, like, studio things that I've finished up and put out, probably like 15 or 20. I need to count them up because I kind of lost track, but I have all of them on a shelf, and I have them in chronological order, and every once in a while I just kind of pass by there and go, damn, that's a lot of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I need to get at least 20 more in before I die, and I think I can make that.
That's really awesome, though. I envy people like you that can just write stuff and continue writing. I had a very, very short period of time where I wrote. It was just that band Frognot, so it was about 4 years. Yeah. And then every other band I've been in, all the music, somebody else wrote it, if it was an original band. Yeah. And then other than that, it was a lot of cover bands. So I really envy you that you're able to do that. And my buddy Dave, who does the same thing, I just think it's really cool. But this album that you put out, I think it was last year that it came out, mm-hmm. Angels and Outlaws, it was kind of a different mm-hmm. theme than some of your other albums, right?
Well, sort of. I guess it was about 7 or 8 years ago, I stopped with the kickstand because I wasn't getting the kind of traction I wanted with that, and I decided I was going to I was kind of at a crossroads of, what am I doing here? And I'm always retooling, but I just was getting to a point with that where I just wasn't seeing a clear vision that I had before. So I was kind of coming up with a new concept, and I had kind of started doing where I was playing like some really corny songs mixed in with my regular music that I thought was serious and great and cool and should be on the radio. I was mixing in kind of these funny songs because it was getting a big reaction. But what kind of backfired on me, because then I would show up and everybody would just be wanting those songs and they didn't care about anything else I did. And, I'm playing these shows where I'm playing like 3 sets, and I'm doing anything from like jazz instrumentals to blues songs to ballads to all kinds of meaningful stuff to me, but it's just being boiled down to, these stupid songs, that were funny and are cool and everything, but I just didn't like the way it was kind of painting me. And so I just was looking for something different. So what happened was I got involved at my church in the band there. And I wrote a song for the band to play, and it went over really good, and I felt really good about it. And I was like, I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to dump all the corny stuff from what I've been doing. I'm going to keep doing the parts that I like, the blues stuff and the pop stuff that I'm digging, but I'm going to add in some of these other kind of songs that I think that I'm now writing. And that just became like another layer of what I was doing. And so I kind of moved everything to a positive message where you're not going to come to one of my gigs and there's not going to be anything you're really going to hear that you wouldn't want your kids to hear, type of thing. But adults will still appreciate it and like it. And I'm not sending out any kind of message where I'm like trying to steer anybody into anything that I don't think is right to do, So if that makes sense. So when I did that, that's when I dropped the Kickstand and I went with just the Kelly Vaughn, solo project, band name. And so the album you're talking about, Angels and Outlaws, was the third one of those I've done. And I've been cranking those out like every couple of years. And on this specific one, Angels and Outlaws, I have a couple songs that people say kind of sounds country. And I had a couple people telling me at clubs, it was funny, we had this one club owner that says, well, y'all are country. And I was just thinking, we're not country. We don't know one country song. We play all originals and it's not country, But I kind of was hearing just country this and country that. And I thought, well, I do have a couple songs that are kind of country-ish. I think I'm going to record them and put them on the new thing and see how that is received, So I put them on the new one, and that's where the Outlaws part comes from. And then the Angels part comes from the couple of contemporary Christian songs I wrote for this album. That's the Angels part. But then there's also a couple of other songs one of them's a blues song and one of them's just a rock song. And that's kind of where I came up with the title, and I liked it and I thought it fit. So, I don't have a record company telling me what to do. So when I have these ideas, I get to just act it out.
You get to do whatever the heck you want, man. That's cool.
Exactly.
No, I really like that. And you have a lot of really great merch. And I meant to have my awesome Kelly Vaughn Tumblr up here for the show so I could show everybody and be like, hey, and get this. I don't want to ignore, there's a few people out in the audience watching right now that I want to give a call out to. So Mert McHarg says, Kelly rocks. Joel Skinner has a few comments. He said, Kelly was the dude in Plano with the best hair. And he also said later, I have to go find it here because it's pretty funny. He said, hey, Kelly owes me $20 from 11th grade, and I'm going to need to get that.
That could very well be true. I have no recollection of that, though.
Could have happened. And I want to give a shout out to a few other people who are in the house right now. Mark Clark is here. Courtney Christensen is in the house. We also have, Kathy Dunn, Mary Beth Ragley, Marcus Cummings, Kelly Cole, Lisa's in here. Susan Flanders graduated with us as well, is in the house. Eric Church is around. Very cool. Well, that's awesome. So we were talking last night a little bit about how the pandemic has affected your life and how it's just affected every aspect. What have you been doing differently through the pandemic?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, so, I have my studio here that I teach at and that I record people at. And for the first couple months, I had to go 100% online, and I taught everybody, over the computer. That was hard, not so much for the adults, but some of the little kids, their attention span is all over the place, and they're, it was hard. It was hard. You hear teachers talk about how hard it is, and I can vouch for that. And I'm doing one-on-one. So that was a change. Since then, I've got most people back here at the studio. Gigs wise, everything kind of came to a screeching halt, and I've done several gigs where I played just on these live streams, these various things that people got me interested in. And then I've also done some of the collaboration videos where everybody plays their part wherever they're at, and then they get all put together. Like you've done a ton of them, and they're all awesome. I did a few of those, and I have still played out occasionally, but it's been different, and it's been a couple of places, it had to be outside, so I was doing that, not right now because it's really cold, but a few months back I was doing more outdoor stuff and things where people are spread out further. So it's really killed the live thing for the greater portion of it, and I'm kind of just waiting for that to rebound. And so I'm just behind the scenes. I'm just working up new stuff that I'm planning to record and new songs that I'm going to introduce with my band when we get cranking again. And musically, that's how it's affected me. But yeah, the rest of my life too, but you probably don't want to hear about that. But
yeah, everybody's been hit by it in one way or another. But before you joined, I was telling everybody that it really affects musicians big time, because even like some of the venues that a lot of venues have reopened, but some the pandemic killed them essentially, and then there's other ones that are just like, maybe they're still open but they can't afford to pay bands now or musicians, and then a couple of big venues have closed down for the winter. Gas Monkey Bar and Grill and Lava Cantina, and I was telling Kelly last night that we used to be playing 8 to 10 shows a month, and Metal Shop now has like several months this year we only have 1 gig. So it's pretty crazy. It's really hard. So finding different ways to do things like that. Do you plan to do any more live streams, or are you planning to do any more collaborations coming up?
Yeah, and I mean, I've got a few of those live things scheduled, but I can't remember when they are. They're on my calendar though, and I do have some live shows coming up, just a few. But I'm just really just kind of playing for when this is kind of lightened up here in a few months, which I'm hoping will be. And then I wouldn't, get back to normal, whatever that means, but just take, what it probably, as much as I kind of, I talk about it as being, it really hit me in a bad way and it messed everything up. Yes, it did in those respects. But one thing good for me is that because I was not gone every Friday and Saturday night for the last year, I've gotten really, really tight with my daughter, who's 4. And just some of the things that she's saying in the last couple weeks, when she says, Daddy, I love you and I'm never going to stop loving you, things like that. It's like, it's made me just kind of realize that it was just some gigs,
Yeah,
I can get back to that anytime. And I will get back to it.
Right.
But this, I try to find the positive in it. And I think it was a divine intervention, that this was kind of a reset for the whole world and definitely for the music business too. And that's the way I'm taking it, and that's the way I'm looking at it. And I'm good with it,
That's awesome. I mean, it kind of has given everybody a different perspective on things, and I think that your daughter's done a good job of showing you that for sure.
Yeah.
I've got a comment here. I'm almost scared to read it. It's from Steve Mueller, and I'm gonna start reading it, and I might have to stop because I saw a part I might have to skip. But just for entertainment's sake, we have people here hanging out, so let's see what it is. Steve says, well, everything I wanted to say you've answered, so we're going to go in a different direction. He says, this is the guy who introduced me to Boy Scouts, and he also took me to church camp. First time to do that, and I got a hickey at TCU where it took place, so it was pretty cool. But my best memory was a night Kelly and I went out to a place in Plano, West Plano for teenagers. You got on stage with that Bon Jovi hair and completely captivated the entire room. He says a little more, but I'm going to skip it. Other people who can read it can read that part. He said, I just want to say to you, you have kept it going, and stay as you are and keep it going, brother. Very cool.
Wow. I remember all that. I really do. I remember all that vividly. So thank you, Steve. That's
very cool.
It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that.
My dad actually popped in a comment, which is cool because Kelly, you must be really special because my parents are both watching right now, and they watch a lot after the broadcast, but they rarely watch during when it's live. So this is a special moment right now. But my dad says, nice. When do you play at church? Is it Sunday morning or another time?
Sunday mornings. Oh, now I have to go back one step there. Right now, because of COVID, I'm there, but we're live streaming. So I'm there on Sunday mornings and we live stream at like 10:30. It's like an hour. Before that, I was just making videos of the songs that I was going to do each week and sending that in, and they weren't compiling that all together. But normally, when we're not in COVID, I'm there every Sunday morning, and I barely ever take any weeks off. I probably maybe miss like 2 Sundays a year, but then there's been some years when I've made them all.
Well, you haven't mentioned it, but it's you and your wife. So your wife has a fantastic voice, and you play guitar, and
she does.
She sings a lead on most everything, right? And then you sing backup with her?
She sings half the songs, and I sing half the songs, and we do harmonies for each other. In the past, and we've been doing this together for like 8 or 9 years, almost since we met. We were at some different churches, When I got the job at this place, then she came in and, she got in the band with me, and we started just kind of picking up where we left off. And we sometimes have a third singer. And so we have like a 3-part harmony situation, but when it's just 2 of us, it's easier because we can work it out at home, and kind of, we make these little demos on our phones and pass them back and forth. But yeah, we do it every Sunday together, and she's a fantastic singer, and that's we've played gigs outside of that, all kinds of different stuff, but that's the main thing that we do together, musically speaking, and we do it every week. And yeah, it's funny. We have a really good chemistry when we're in the moment and we're doing it, but when we're rehearsing, sometimes it's like, it should be the first to admit that. But sometimes it's easy and great, but we sometimes don't look forward to the rehearsals as much.
I get it, man. Yeah, and I've gone over and heard a couple of the live streams. You guys sound great, and everybody's asking what church it is and if they can tune in. I don't know if you want to share that or
it's Canyon Creek Presbyterian Church in Richardson, Texas, and they have a Facebook page, and every Sunday morning they'll post the link, and then at 10:30 it goes live, and then you can always watch it later or the past ones, but the one that's being live streamed every Sunday comes on at 10:30. And until we get restrictions lifted and things change, that's just the way we're rolling right now.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you guys are able to still do that. A lot of the churches have gone to the live streaming. I've been really impressed at how well a lot of these churches have picked it up and put out a real pro-looking thing. And your church is no different. Looked really good.
We had no cameras. Our live stream was like somebody's phone, and that's all we had. And in this time, they've got a complete system put in. They've trained the whole staff and volunteers how to work it. And we've practiced, and then we've been doing it for real, and it just keeps getting better. So that's something I'm real excited about, because when this is over, we're going to keep doing that. And that's going to be another way for us to reach our message out there besides just coming to the building,
Oh yeah, I think that's
exciting.
Yeah, I think that is really huge and super exciting. And before you joined tonight, I was talking about how during the pandemic, we started this show, The Beat. We've been doing it, and so I threw myself into all the lights and the camera, just like you were talking about. I didn't have anything either but a phone. And so it's been really cool that it is something that you can carry forward. You don't have to just go, oh, the pandemic's over, I'm going to go box this stuff up. You can keep using this as a way to reach people, whether it's, your nonprofit that you're trying to get awareness about, or a church. And that's really cool. I've really enjoyed having that ability. It's super cool.
That's one of the things that I noticed in like the first week or two when all this hit, is that it wasn't going to stop people from doing all these things that we were going to want to do. We were just going to find another way to do it. And we did. And it was like instantaneous. I mean, it may not have been, up to what, we wanted it to be the following week, but we were we were streaming things the very next week, and it was on your phone, but it was going to continue, and it just has gotten better. You're just not going to stop the human spirit and what it wants to do. It's just not going to happen. So I laugh at COVID.
That's such a good point. It's so crazy. You were talking about how it was almost like divine intervention, all this happening. And, like this live streaming, like Facebook Live and stuff like that, that wasn't around like 5 years ago. I remember in 2015, Periscope came out, which was what Facebook ended up doing. They were live streaming where you just on your phone and you're live streaming out there and anybody can tune in and watch. And it was like, what? And then Facebook came out with it. And had it not been for all that technology being where it is, none of this would have been possible. And we would have just kind of felt like hermits, But we have all these great tools. I mean, dude, we have all these amazing ways to connect. FaceTime, I was FaceTiming dinner with my parents every Tuesday for the longest time and just hanging out. Now I've just made a habit. Anytime I call them, I FaceTime them because I don't see them in person. And so I've been using that a lot. There's an app called Marco Polo that's like a video chat kind of thing where you just send your one message across and back, and Zoom and Skype and all of this. So it's been really cool to see everybody adapt. Like you said, it was nothing was going to stop everybody from moving forward, that forward momentum, whatever your cause is, and keeping your message out there. So I think that's super cool. Well, dude, man,
Definitely.
We covered a lot of ground. You filled up your time, dude. You're 5 minutes over, so you slayed. Very good. I appreciate you coming on tonight, Kelly. I can't wait to play with you in person. Maybe do another couple of these isolation videos we can put together. It'd be really fun, and maybe we'll write some stuff here in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, and of course, I'm a big supporter and fan of everything you do.
Man, thank you so much, dude.
I want to just thank you for having me on and letting me share my story.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for all your support of Breast Cancer Can Stick It, being a part of the Breast Cancer Can Stick It band. You were a real blessing when we were able to get you in the band just at the exact right time. It's really been awesome having you there and singing, and you guys sound fantastic. So I feel very, very blessed.
Thank you. Can't wait to do it again.
Yep. You take care, okay? It's good seeing you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You bet. All right, everybody. That was Kelly Vaughn, man. Awesome having him on the show tonight. And cannot wait until we get a chance to jam in person again.